Okay, welcome. Here we are, May20. Welcome. This is going to be a live regarding Nancy Guthrie. Come on in, join me for tea. Come on in and join me for tea. I've got an update on Nancy Guthrie. I want to talk about how incredible reading tea leaves can be, especially if you're going to use tea time to solve true crime. I am a professional tea leaf reader for 30 years. I wouldn't have predicted that I would be using my gifts to solve true crime, but I've been taken to doing that in the last 15 years. I wasn't planning on looking at Nancy Guthrie, but she appeared to me in my bedroom. So I'm going to share a couple of things I do know about things that have been revealed in the tea leaf recently. Okay, we did our first reading on April 17 on the Nancy Guthrie case. And I asked a friend to join me. We recorded it. I've put some of the images up on my YouTube channel. If you want to look at any of the long videos I have on Nancy Guthrie, please go to YouTube at Sax Francisco Clairvoyant Medium, and you will see all sorts of information on this case. What I wanted to talk to everyone about tonight is I actually do believe there was a tea leaf reveal on April 17th that just caught my eye today. And it is absolutely fantastic because since I've been looking at the Nancy Guthrie case, I only started looking at it on March 26, okay? And I explain how that happened. It's because she walked into my bedroom. This is what we would consider as mediums of visitation, okay? Arriving in all white. Now, some people have been watching my videos wondering if I meant, when I say that she's arrived in all white, they were wondering if I got that very wrong, because perhaps she wasn't dressed in white when she was abducted from her home. And in reality, I would agree. She's not wearing white as she's abducted from her home. While she's still alive, I actually feel she's wearing a navy blue two-piece pajama set. And I say that because in the reading on April 17th, she really showed me in a remote viewing, almost shamanic way, honestly. It was very shamanistic. I was in her house trying to do remote viewing on the night of the abduction. And if you would like to see what I saw on this abduction on my YouTube channel, you would be looking for the video that's called Part 7, Spirit, which takes you through what I believe Nancy Guthrie went through in her own home. So if you would like to see that, that is Spirit Part 7. But Part 8 in this series is the mission. And in the mission, I describe what is happening that evening in the home through the eyes of the perpetrators. And to date, I have ascertained there are actually 5 perpetrators, and I'm naming them number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the order that they've appeared in visions. So this is why I have the update tonight. I just want to confirm, when people are hearing me say, though, that Nancy appeared to me dressed in white, it is not because she was wearing white when she was abducted. I am referencing the fact that the only reason I got involved in this case, period, I was not going to be looking at this. I'm not from the United States. I'm from Canada. So when I say she's wearing white when she appeared to me, I am talking about a visitation, not just seeing a spirit. And I see spirits in many different ways. I can see regular spirits wearing normal clothing, and sometimes that's what I'll see. If, let's say, when my grandfather appeared to me, he appeared to me in my home as a holographic image, and he was wearing clothes that I would remember him in. Okay, so when spirits appear in a holographic way, like for instance, if this was one of my favorite, outfits, and I were being, seen, I would be appearing in clothes like this, okay? There would be a way that you would see it holographically, and it would be true to what I would be wearing. But when there's a visitation, this is the holiest level of the spirit. So when you are on a visitation level, every single time I have seen spirits arrive in visitation, I can assure you as a medium, they are always wearing white. So anybody looking at videos kind of going, I don't think Nancy was wearing the white when she disappeared. I agree. I think she was in a two-piece navy blue pajama outfit. Okay. However, that's not really what I want to focus on tonight. I want to focus on the tea leaf reading that was done on April 17th. It's up on my website. I'm going to cover it in more than one way tonight, but I've got to show you some of the images in here that we hadn't quite talked about in previous recordings. Now, this is being filmed on May 20th. There have been a lot of updates on Nancy Guthrie in the last week, which I will be talking about because they are very significant. Now, since people have been focusing in on this, more and more of the readers looking at this, we do know that there's a woman involved, okay? And as I'm naming perps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I have been naming a female on the crew as perp number 5. So if you want in the future to look at any of my videos that I'm going to be doing on this woman, I'm trying to describe the personalities of each of the perps, trying to distinguish one from another. Okay, for instance, perp 1 at the front door, if you followed this, perp 1 who first appears on the camera, I'm calling perp 1. But Nancy's also showed me that there's 2 people in the house that are securing her in her own bedroom. They are securing her and sedating her before they move her to the couch in her living room. Okay, so perp 2 is the person that's entered through the rear and has assisted in containing Nancy in her bedroom so that one person can administer sedation. And I've been talking about Nancy Guthrie being sedated since the first videos I've put out. I don't believe anybody else has been talking about this, but I put out 2 videos early April 4th, and I believe April 7th, both speaking of sedation. I see it clearly with the remote viewing shamanic type of travel that I did. So what's great is as of May 7th, the FBI has confirmed, according to pacemaker data, that they can confirm that Nancy was sedated. However, they're saying that she was sedated by the time they put her in the car. I am saying that is absolutely false. She showed me herself. She's being sedated in the bedroom. She's cornered in the bedroom, okay, by 2 perps. And out of the 2 perps in the home, we now know that the first perp on camera is approximately 5'9" or 5'10" inches. I say that perp 2 will have a height difference of maybe 4 or 5 inches. I've been saying that for several videos now. When we're looking at the 2 perps in the house that corner Nancy in that bedroom to get her sedated, and what I mean by secured is I really do believe that they have already put her in zip ties, unfortunately. And I feel that those zip ties are around both her wrists, okay, and ankles as she's sitting on the couch. So the whole point of perp 1 and 2 is to infiltrate the house, contain her in her bedroom, secure her, sedate her, and get her ready for relocating. But I still want to say that perp 2 is a different height, and whoever was in the bedroom, it is the taller person out of perp 1 and 2 that is standing in the doorway, on the inside of the doorway, making sure she's not getting out of that bedroom. So perp 2, that's what I see. It might be perp 1 that's standing in the doorway, and it might be perp 2 that is sedating, or the other way around. But whichever one is the taller of the 2, They are the ones standing inside the bedroom door with it closed, making sure no one's getting out of that bedroom until she's contained. Okay, so I'm pinning that on, like I want to make sure that people are charged correctly if and when we can finally capture the people who did this. I'm still saying that 2 people were in that bedroom to contain her and sedate her. Okay, now coming out, when Nancy gets to the couch and she's showing me she's on a couch, this is why I know she's already sedated in the bedroom, because this was so shamanic. I've done remote viewing, but I'm telling you, this little trip that I had into her home, I was assisted by another spirit, and I was seeing things as if I truly was right in that house. And there was a moment, it was so real that I even thought Nancy was looking at me because she felt my spirit in the hallway where I was looking at her from. So I am determined to say this lady was sedated in the bedroom, because when I see her on the couch, I see her sitting on this white couch. They've got her bound, and this is horrible because she's swaying. Okay, she's swaying from whatever this minor sedation was. She's not unconscious, but she's sitting up there on her couch, and I really do feel like she's moving side to side from not being able to hold her muscle coordination properly. Okay, so I feel like I keep wanting to make sure that we have all of the perps identified, so none go to escape justice. Okay, it sounds like a lot of crazy details that I'm giving, but you know, I said she was sedated, and now FBI knows that she is. I had said that I believe they carried her out of her home because I'm seeing her on her couch in zip ties. You can't convince me she's walking to the front door, okay, and walking out that front door. So in my earlier videos, I have said that I see her being carried, and that is the second thing that has been confirmed through FBI looking at the data, the pacemaker data. That has been confirmed. But this is again where I want to say 2 things where I believe the police are lying to the public. And if you've ever worked with police on anything like this, I've worked minimally with police on cases, but I know enough to know they will purposely lie to the public to keep, either hold back information very clean so it's not getting misappropriated or miscommunicated or further stretched out of reality by the media, as we know can happen. So, or, you know, you also have to understand that if anyone were to finally confess to any part of this crime, okay, for instance, I'll give you the 2 pieces of information I believe the police are lying to the public about. And it is so that the true perpetrators can be identified if they were ever to start rolling on each other and ratting one to the other out. The police have to know that you're the real perpetrators by holding that information back or twisting it in a way that you as the perpetrator can finally tell them the truth, and they already know it because they've twisted it to make sure that people with the right tips get through properly. So 2 pieces of information that I believe police are still lying on. And remember, this started to come out May 7th, and I'm recording this on May 20th. May 7th, it was also determined that they keep thinking from the pacemaker data that Nancy was sedated in the car. No, that is such a lie. That is such a bold-faced lie. You're telling me you think 2 perps have entered her home. You know she's been scared because of that pacemaker data too. There are spikes, right? Spikes in the data because she's been shocked by the fact that 2 people are now in her bedroom. And because I see her swaying on the couch, I just won't believe she was sedated in the vehicle. Perhaps they wanted to sedate more heavily in the vehicle, but she was already sedated in her bedroom. I just know it. Okay, second thing I believe that they are lying about on purpose is They keep telling everybody she went south, that the perpetrators took her south. I'm sorry. It's north. North. They took her north. They did not take her south. And I think that is why the police are also lying, okay, to say that she's going south. That could be anywhere near the border. Maybe that's where rumors about her being in Sonora have come in. Nancy Guthrie was not taken to Mexico, okay? What do I know? But I'm trusting what she gives me. And I'm sorry, I'm just holding my heart when I'm saying this, because it's like, oh, like, I don't need palpitations either from just being sent down the wrong path, okay? And it is very confusing for family. I have no clue how the Guthrie family is handling this, because it's too intense to go through. You could come up with a handful of different ways to think of this crime. And I'm coming totally out of another position of saying this still has nothing to do with family. Although what has also been coming into media lately, and I can understand why some people really, really, really think it's Tommaso and Annie. Because if this is true, there was some information that was said this week, I heard, that Nancy had given power of attorney to Tommaso and had a lawyer's appointment scheduled for February 4th or February 3rd because she wanted to express some concerns about the power of attorney, and she wanted to change what was in the will. So I can understand if this has gone wildfire, because that could speculate that if Tommaso truly were power of attorney and there were questionable things happening in her estate, because that's what I've just heard on some reports this week, May 19th, I heard this, so I don't know if it's really true. But if it is true that Tommaso was misappropriating funds out of her estate, because that's what it was rumored as for the lawyer's appointment, she had discovered something. She was trying to balance books. She was trying to get to the bottom of it. So I can understand if people are lining up Annie and Tommaso, and heck, if that's really true, then perhaps family can go through that and figure it out. And the sad thing is, if that is true, that would mean Nancy never made it to the lawyer's appointment to change her estate. So that, if it's true, would be disastrous for an elderly woman, worth enough that it could change people's lives if they were to inherit. So I would imagine behind the scenes, though I know nothing at all, I would imagine if that were my family, I would be running some kind of forensics on her estates and accounting and seeing if, don't mean to say anything, but I personally, if that were my family, I would be going through what did Annie have access to, what did Tommaso have access to, and fair is fair. If they were taken from the estate, let them figure it out on their own. But this is where I still have to say, I know everybody wants to blame them for the whole kidnapping, but think of this for just a second. If it's true that Tommaso was already taking money, and I have no verification, okay? If he was taking money out of the estate and he'd gotten away with it for a certain amount of time, wouldn't it stand to reason that he figured there was, hey, no problem, I don't need to plan a kidnapping. I already got the keys to the castle. So I know people want to throw the stones right away, but call me crazy. I mean, sometimes people really can be guilty of one thing and not the other. So I still don't want to blame them yet, to be honest, because anytime I have done the readings, it is not Annie Tommaso that planned the kidnapping. Okay, and I do know it came out that apparently Annie had asked for a loan right before this, so I get it. People are having financial concerns. Mom has money, hit her up for a loan. drain her bank accounts when she's not looking. I get it. But kidnapping is a whole different story, okay? Kidnapping is a whole different story. And the reason that I keep staying focused on still not believing it's Annie or Tommaso is because by the grace of the tea leaves, I have been shown a totally different story. And I still believe that the real perpetrator who initiated this, I call Perp 3, and I give great details on this person, and I feel he's the only Caucasian on the team. And I believe that when Nancy has been placed on the couch, sedated, waiting for the two people in her home to do whatever they're doing, she tells me they're talking on a communications network. They're coordinating with the third perp to get the car. So perp 4 is the driver of the car. I have an update on that as well that I'm going to do in the next video. But perp 5, that's who I want to circle around and talk to and talk about today. Because what we did when we did the tea leaf reading is we of course just read it and we record it on an audio. That's the first thing we do. But also what I did was I recorded the actual teacup in a video, kind of like just taking the teacup where all the leaves were. That's on my YouTube channel with no sound whatsoever, because there are a lot of readers and healers and mediums and psychics that can look at tea leaves, I feel, and see things. So if you see that video, there really is no sound. It was for the purpose of allowing people to look at the tea leaves to see if they see what we see. Okay, so you can go back and see that. I might even play a new video on that tonight because I want to point new things out. But for today, this is the most important thing. I discovered by going back over those photos, we like to keep photos because there really are amazing clumps and tea leaves that give you such information. And sometimes it's so clear. You sit there going, oh my God, everyone can see that. Even if you're not a reader, we kind of go, oh my God, everyone can see that because it's so clear. So I'm going to just take a drink, then I'm going to put the phone on and I'm going to point out a couple of things that are amazing in the cup from that April 17th reading. And for the record, we've done other readings since then. We did one on May 11th. Okay, and the reason you don't see me on this every day with Nancy Guthrie, I have to be honest. I know all the investigative guys are doing that. They're from a whole different side of the brain. When I'm using my mediumship and I'm forever this conduit for information coming in, and it will be almost a continual amount of information. If a spirit really has made a connection to you and they want you to know the information, I'm telling you, it's like they fly in and sit on your head and it's a lot to go through, okay? And even when I talk to other people about the case, they're like, gee, my head, you know, and it's like, yeah, right? Okay, because crown chakra gets so activated when spirits are trying to give you information. So I know some people are like, when's the next video? When's the next video? I love that you guys want me to talk about this, and I do appreciate your encouragement. And there will be more videos this week, absolutely, if you want to keep following along. But for real, it's a lot to do, okay? So don't mind me for taking a week off and a week off here, you know? Okay, I want to show you these tea leaves. I want to show you a couple of things. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we have asserted about perp number 1 or perp number 2. We think it's perp 1. If you guys have been following some of the readers that have been looking at perp 1, and I didn't get it immediately. I was just letting everybody say what they want, and I usually just wait until I really do see something. I'm not just going to say anything. And I had heard other readers thinking that perp number 1 was a boxer, okay? And anybody joining me, this is the Nancy Guthrie live. Okay, so the interesting thing about also in the first 2 months, people were still speculating on whether or not Nancy walked out of her home or was carried out of her home. Okay, we've already talked about that today, but they also were wondering if there was so much blood on the front doorstep, was she really alive? Now, the FBI forensic people who are very good at reading blood, they say that there was air, there was oxygen in the blood. So they would agree that she was alive, crossing the threshold of her doorway. I agree from the beginning. I never had any doubt she was alive being put into the vehicle, because this is not a murder. Okay, this is not a murder for hire at all. This was never intended to be a homicide of any type, okay? In fact, what I see is it truly is Perp 1 and 2, I believe, are family, and I believe they are burglars. And I believe that it is Perp number 5, the woman, who I'm going to show you in a moment with this here. I believe it's Perp number 5 that somehow knows Perp number 3, the originator of this, and somehow Perp 3, the originator of the idea, obviously knows Perp 5. I'm just trying to figure out how they know each other, because it would have gone from Perp 3 as the idea to Perp 5 as the person saying, oh yeah, let's do this, you know? So both are highly culpable for being the orchestrators, but I am still pinning it on the Caucasian male as being the initiator. Yet, I am definitely pinning it on the female, who I believe is Mexican. I am pinning it on the female to have hired the crew, okay? So Perp 5, the female, she has hired Perp number 1, the doorbell front door person, and Perp 2, because remember, I believe they're family, okay? And Perp 5, the female, has also hired the driver as an independent person in this crime. The driver, Perp number 4, does not have anything to do with Nancy's physical body, dead or alive, okay? Not at all. Now, he's culpable if she's ended up dead because he's been involved in this. We know that legally, criminally. But I just want to say, when I'm seeing it logistically for who did what, driver only drove the car. Okay, it's not Perp 1 at the door camera that jumps in the vehicle. It's not Perp 2 that says, hey, you hold on to Nancy, I'll run down the street and I'll be back in 40 minutes. No, Perp 2 does not have the car. Okay, I definitely keep wanting to say, this is why I'm being so particular. Don't encapsulate Perp 1 and 2 as the people who came up with this idea. They did not come up with the idea. I don't care what anybody says about Perp 1 being, you know, the person that, no. Perp 1 is hired, okay? Perp 1 is hired. Perp 2 is hired, okay? So it is Perp 4, the driver, that is merely coming in and out. That's his thing. Come in with the car, get out with the car. That's it. And he's not chatting with anyone. If you'd like to see the video that I have on the driver, please see my YouTube channel, Sax Francisco, Clairvoyant Medium. And that is under section 9, part 9 on the Nancy Guthrie series. And under part 9, if you want to follow it quickly, there is information on the driver, the vehicle, and the route. Okay, so that's what is very interesting. So going back to Perp 5, the female, and Perp 1, okay? Perp 5 female knows the whole crew. She's the one who hired them individually, and she's the one that might actually have had her boots on the ground, and she definitely was around Nancy's body, dead and alive. And I mean that. She was around Nancy's body, dead and alive, okay? That's what I'm pinning that on her, and I see you. So this is the interesting thing. There's a photo that's circulating that I've only seen recently, and I don't know how some people have this photo and others don't. I don't believe it's a police photo, but it's very similar to the photos being presented of Perp 1 at the doorbell. You can kind of see the front of Nancy's house in this, and people are saying that when you're watching Perp 1, look to his left to see, you know, what's happening. It looks like Perp 1 is looking to his left through the front yard area. And somebody sent me a photo, and it is rather telling, if not creepy, that it's argued that he's looking at someone while he's trying to cover that camera, as if they're saying, yeah, make sure it's covered, whatever they're doing. Okay, well, I feel this photo is of particular interest because I have always said that Perp 5, I believe, is a Mexican with hair that could maybe like just be down to here. Okay, like I don't think it's much more than that. I think it's long enough, like let's say to here, where she can curl the back, because anytime my sister sees her, there's all of this beautiful curly hair where it could either be straight or it could hold the curl. And that would be Mexican hair. That would be Mexican black. Okay, now here's the thing. I definitely do believe that Perp 5 has black hair. And we believe that she might have the LVN. I can't remember the designation of nurses, but somebody had to sedate her. So we are wondering, could Perp 5, the woman, have something to do either with healthcare, regular nurse, or the designation lower, where you're still kind of accessing some things? Okay, so we have wondered that. And there have been a couple of times that she appears a little bit of a, if you guys know the character Betty Boop, I certainly hope you do. It was a caricature. And you know, with Betty Boop, she had this kind of like rounded face, like mine's quite oval, right? So when you're looking at face structure, we do have to wonder if Perp 5 is more rounded, because she also appears a bit of a Betty Boop image in our tea leaves. And when I depict her in part 9, the segment when I'm talking about the driver, I always pick her up wearing like bright reds. And we even wonder, through Freudian slips and other tea leaf parts, we actually feel she could be in the sex trade one way or another. Now, not necessarily human trafficking of sex slaves. Okay, we are hoping it's not that severe that this woman is involved in, but we would say minimally she could be involved in like an escort service, or could she, and that might be herself, or could she have organized other people to be in the sex trade? And the way that Perp 1 and Perp 2, I see, held Nancy in the bedroom with the sedation, and the fact that they were comfortable holding her there. Like I got the impression in one of the perps at the door that, oh, you're not getting through this door. And the person was rather comfortable with, oh, I'll lock down this room and you're not getting through the door until this is finished. So that to me tells you a lot about a character, because something bad is happening in that bed and the person by the doorway is okay with it. That's a little creepy. And it does make me say that if Perp 5 knows Perp 1 and 2, and she somehow employed them to do this, yay. The creepy thing about the photo I'm talking about, if this is true, whoops, I've got cats in here. They somehow got in here. Oh my gosh. Darn it. I got to break up a cat fight and I got to come back. Okay, guys, what the heck? Guys, what the heck? Who's in here? And who's fighting who? Go. Come on. No fighting. Go. What are you guys doing? Neither one of you should be in here. Lashika, please go. Okay. No fights. Chimney curtains. Okay. Sorry, there aren't supposed to be cats in my studio. Okay, sorry, lost my train of thought. But with going back to this Perp 5, okay, somehow this woman Perp 5 hired these other people, okay? I personally do not think Perp 5, the woman, is inside the home. Because when Nancy shows me the two people inside the home, I just feel that is not the woman, and they are dressed exactly the same, okay? They are dressed, think of how the front door person is dressed. Perp 2 is dressed exactly the same, okay? They're almost visually identical, okay? Now, the woman, when I'm seeing her in my mind's eye and getting a hold of how tall is Perp 5, I actually believe that Mexican woman is most likely only about 5'4". I think she's shorter. I think the one that could have the medical background possibly, I have a feeling she's a shorter Mexican. So I'm going to say she's 5'4". That's my instincts. Okay. So the creepy thing about that photo that's circulating online that looks like it was shot somehow from, I don't know how people got that photo though, okay? Because if the ring camera is on Perp 1, and even if he's turned to the garden looking at something, that would mean that the camera has to get around that brick archway. So I do not know if this photo that someone sent me is credible, not to doubt anyone, but why don't the police have it? The police aren't circulating it, so it still makes me wonder. But that photo that is circulating, if it's true, it looks like a short, stocky Mexican woman with hair down to here. And what's wild is she's wearing a white outfit that makes me think it looks like medical attire, which, you know, short, not pants. So it would be like, you know, that type of dress type white material clothing that nurses could wear. So that still makes me wonder what the heck is going on with this woman. So this is what I want to reveal in the tea leaves. And I don't know if you can see it on here, but this is, now, in the last couple of weeks, people have also been speculating, could Perp 1 have been killed? Could Perp 1 have been taken out by the crew? And the reason the FBI wonder about this is they think Perp 1 is the initiator, but he's not. He's hired help, okay? Number one, that's wrong for the FBI to assume that. Totally wrong. The person who initiated this isn't even on the scene. That's how smart they are, okay? They're not even on that stupid scene, okay? So they're not there, okay? So what's important to remember is this woman is still a ringleader, okay? That's why I keep wanting to point to her. She's the one who hired the crew. So, and honestly, we think it's because of Perp 5 that Nancy genuinely lost her life. Because even if Perp 5 has medical background or anything on that level that she's supposed to be caring for people, we think she's really lousy at it. And she's, we feel she's got more delusion than reality in her head. So we think that this was just too big for them to bite into. Now, going first to whether or not someone could have been killed on this crew, we also felt during that first reading on April 17th or so, and it might even come up on the May 11th reading that we just did that you guys haven't seen yet, kind of feel that there was one of the perps that really felt bad for the way this ended up, very consciously, compassionately felt bad. And we even wondered if it was that perp that sent one of the ransom notes saying, Nancy is with God. We didn't realize she needed so much help. We had to wonder if that's the sympathetic of the perp. Now, if perp 1 and 2 are family, okay, I've been thinking about this. If I'm saying perp 1 and 2 are family according to what Nancy shows me, okay, perp 3 is in a whole different, he's not even in Arizona, okay? So perp 3 is not the one getting murdered, okay? I can tell you that because he's organized it. So he's not the one that's going to get murdered. The person that's going to get murdered is either the one saying, we're really sorry, it shouldn't have gone that bad, and gosh, do I ever feel bad? I got to talk to you about it. Or is it someone expendable where they kind of thought, we just need you to do a couple little things and need you to like get out of the way. But out of all the perps, if that means, okay, first of all, perp 4, the driver, no way is he the one that's got the soft heart wondering if we need to communicate over this because I'm feeling so bad. Perp 4 is hired only to do the driving. He's not looking at anyone. You're not allowed to talk to him at all. Plus, he's part of a syndicate that was channeled earlier. So I'm not going to believe that it was perp 4 that got murdered. I'm not going to believe that it was perp 3 that got murdered. I'm not going to believe that it was perp 5, the woman that got murdered. Because as crazy as she is, she's not the one who got murdered because I see her burying Nancy. Okay, so perp 5 isn't the one who got murdered. So that means if someone really got murdered on this crew of 5 people, then that's coming down to perp number 1 and 2. But here's the thing. If perp 1 really did get murdered, because that's what FBI are suggesting this month, in the month of May, that he's probably gotten murdered because he's the one on camera, right? But did he get murdered for being on camera? I think he was put on camera so the Guthrie family know something is really wrong here. Like, that's the way to believe a crime just happened, that your mom is really gone. There's the person. If you only saw the blood on the front doorstep, then, you know, that's suspicious enough. But when you actually see a person, you know something has gone down. You know what I also felt that when the blood was there, and we know for a fact that the Sheriff's Department and Nano's team did not treat this like a homicide from the beginning. They didn't treat it like a crime scene from the beginning. They thought it was a woman walking away. I'm sorry. Who the heck is on that team? The blood was there. So what are you thinking? Gee, she must have knocked over her walker and didn't care she was bleeding, like from cutting herself on it. What the heck is the story if you're seeing blood on the doorstep when you know she's missing when Annie has gone to look? That to me right away felt like a bit of a crock pot examination here. There's blood. Why wouldn't you immediately go to something is very wrong? She didn't just walk out of here. And I just think that's bizarre that they didn't treat it like a real crime scene from the 1 second of seeing that. There's blood only at the entrance. What does that tell you? Someone could have been hurt saying, don't take me out of my home. So anyway, let's go to the point of why I'm talking about this. I want you guys to see the female, and I want you to see a part where I feel like someone could have been murdered on this team. I would agree, because even in the reading on April 17th, when we took the photos of this, I'm going to see if you guys can see this. I've always said that this is a Mexican team that are burglars that are trying to go up the corporate ladder of criminal occurrence. And I feel that they took this on like, hey, you know, we're Mexican. We know kidnappings happen. That's a real source of income in Mexico, unfortunately. So I feel these people were enough around syndicate being the cartel, because the driver, I believe, is cartel, but was only hired to drive. And this is not a cartel hit, but I do believe that these guys kind of like spill over into drugs that could be cartel drugs, sex trafficking that could maybe have cartel connections. The driver is cartel, even if that's that. That's all I can say about that. He works for cartel. So when you see this image, and when I saw it in the tea, whoops, you have to, and this was from the 17th. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but look at this image. Look at this big, huge image here. And even if people don't read tea leaves, can you see that this is, I want to maybe go like this again. And okay, so what do you see here? I know this is a crazy thing for you guys to look at. I'm going to try to come in closer with this. Just look at that. Tell me if this looks like a coyote on its back with the paws in the air. You can see the ears here. You can see an eye there, and the nose is pointing straight up. So as crazy as that is, this is where I see a dead coyote. And this is from the reading on April 17th. So, dead coyote, April 17th. If this crew felt like somebody on the crew really needed to be eliminated because they were either going to rat the other team members out, then what's sad about this is, like, how many perps are there? I say 5. So if perp 5 is the woman, she's not the one murdered, like I said. Perp 4, they don't need to murder. He's clean. He's not talking to anyone. They don't need to go murder him because he's calling TMZ. Okay, so it's not the driver that's been eliminated. So if someone truly has ended up a dead coyote, you also have to realize what coyote signifies in Mexican culture. Okay, that could be a drug runner. Okay, and I actually might actually be running drugs as well. There was the second reading on May 11th. We haven't published that yet, but I'll just give you that tidbit. We saw enough in the reading on May 11th that I personally do believe that some of this crew, Perp 5 and Perp 1 and 2, or it is Perp 5 and her other circles, but I'm still saying Perp 5 could definitely have sex and drug trafficking somehow. And okay, so here's the other thing I want to show you in this. I'm showing you a few things in here. So yes, there could be a dead person. But you know what? This is the other thing, that if it's potentially Perp 1 or Perp 2 that could have been murdered, I know Perp 1 and 2 are family members. So if they really did that, if they really murdered one of their crew, that would mean that there's some sort of death in the family, right? Because how are you going to kill a family member? Are you not telling the other family member? Like, if you really kill Perp 1, I think Perp 1 and 2 are family. So that's why I'm asking this question. If you kill Perp 1, how does that go over in the family? Where's Rod? Well, I don't know. I thought he went to Mexico with you. No, what do you mean? Where is he? Like, so you have some explaining to do. Or if they really killed someone, could it be someone that wasn't quite present on the job? Because these are family members that somehow know each other and friends that know the family. Because Perp 5 somehow knew this Perp 1 and 2 that are family. So maybe she's a family friend. She also knew the driver. So somehow you know more people. So I just don't, I got to be honest, I don't know if Perp 1 was truly killed. I really don't know that, because Perp 1 looks like, in a lot of ways, they are in charge. So I know not everyone thinks it, but some of that camera footage, I've thought whether or not Perp 1 is a female. I know Perp 5 is a female, for sure. Perp 5 is a female. So, but the Perp 1, male or female, when you watch their behavior, there's no fear, there's no fright, there's no hurry. You can see that they are seasoned with walking up to doors like this and obviously getting through them. So yes, in closing, yes, I believe that they could have killed someone. They really could have, according to this. Why is there a dead coyote? But it makes me still wonder if the person they killed might have known about the crime. But call me crazy, I'm not 100% convinced that it's Perp 1 or 2 that got murdered, and it's not 2, 3, or 4 that got murdered either. So that makes me wonder, is there accessory after the crime, or did other family members know about it and they were supposed to just keep the you-know-what quiet, and then they couldn't because they feel so bad because it was really supposed to be short. And anyway, we also feel that wherever Nancy was taken, we actually feel that that location for wherever she was held as a hostage, we feel that that location could be owned by family. Okay, so whether that's we wonder if it's a ranch, okay? It might be a barn. But what I see when Nancy is taken there, it does feel like wood. It could be a barn. It could be an outbuilding. It could be a shack. The reason I'm saying this is when I see that location and where she is being kept, I can see like the wood slats, and I can actually see daylight just peeking through those slats, okay? And the impression, I'll show you another part of this tea reading from the 17th. It is possible. Okay, for instance, this is the other thing that we've noticed, okay? Look at this tea leaf here. See how this looks like it's a person? And then it looks like this is either a fishing rod, but at the bottom of it, it almost looks like an axe, okay? So what that made us wonder is they had to take her somewhere, right? They had to hold her somewhere. We had to wonder, even though this is Arizona, could the perpetrators, and honestly, when I'm looking at that image, believe it or not, I see it as a female, believe it or not. So when you read tea leaves, that's the thing. You know, do you really see that? I see it being a female. So makes me wonder if one out of the two females that could be on this crew, do they have outdoors as part of their living lifestyle? Because why would you have an axe? That's for chopping wood. Why would you have a fishing rod? That's for going fishing. So could you be going fishing and having a fire on the edge of some sort of body of water? You guys tell me in Arizona, where would you go fishing in Arizona if you wanted to? Now, the other image I want to show you about where I think some of the readers might be right on Perp 1 possibly being a boxer, because remember when Perp 1 goes up to the camera, they're using the side wrist to try to hide it. Okay, so there's this tea leaf clump that was in the the April 17th. And this is what I would say, because I know this is crazy. You're going to go, what are those things here? Okay, I'm going to explain. Okay, this is why I believe Perp 1 truly could be a boxer. Both my sister and I picked it up when we shared the reading. Come in here for a second. And look at the stance on this person. Okay, do you know when you're boxing, you kind of like will hunch up and start to do this? Okay, so we actually see this as a boxer figure, okay? As rough as that looks, we saw a boxer coming out of there. So we can, at this point, kind of agree with any of the readers picking up that, or any of the observers, picking up that Perp 1 could really be a boxer. We kind of think that could be true. Here's the other thing I want you guys to look at, and this is where I feel, see that clumping there? Okay, remember when I said there's a photo being passed around on the internet and it looks like there's an encaptured photo of a woman that could be wearing white that almost looks like a nursing outfit? Isn't this interesting in the tea leaves where you see this? Whenever I see something like this, that to me is a female wearing a skirt or a dress skirt, okay? And call me nuts, but there's shoes. That's how I read that. There's a female, and this is interesting. She's looking that way. Call me crazy, but I see her looking that way. She's not looking this way. Now, this is why this is interesting, because this is again from the reading on April 17th, that the whole inside of the teacup was filmed, and it's up on my page. But sometimes when we film those teacups, there's still certain areas that you can't see properly. I want you to see this because when I did that reading, what I see here is this is a bed. And you see how this woman is facing the other way, not looking at the bed? This tells me everything, okay? First of all, it tells me that Perp 5, the woman that we think might be nursing background, always wearing something that looks like a nurse's outfit, that's kind of making me think that she really is involved somehow there. But this also makes me say that this is where Nancy was being held in the bed. I think they were, this looks like a shack that she was in. I'm going to be really honest. There was nothing fancy about where they took Nancy. And it just reminds me of, I've been in Mexico enough that Mexicans can be very humble with what they feel they need. Okay, so you will see a lot of Mexicans living in what looks like apparent poverty, not because they don't have money. A lot of times it is because they don't have money, but it's also because they know what not to spend their money on, and they're going to be very careful of that. Okay, I do know that from my Mexican friends. I've seen that. So here's the thing where they've kept her. I believe they were decent enough to have her in a bed at least. Okay, and I do feel like she's laying in a bed here. But what I don't like about this is the woman I keep seeing as Perp 5. Do you notice she's not looking at the bed? Sorry, the live's going to end. They always do this wild thing to warn me when it's going to end. So I've only got a couple more seconds here. But that's what I don't like about this Perp. She is not even looking at the bed. She's looking over here as if she's got better things to do on her phone than make sure that Nancy isn't dying from the malcare that they've given her. Okay, so that's just a couple of things. But this is the huge thing in closing. I do believe that I have seen Perp 5 in here, and I'm going to show you real quick. I believe I could draw a picture of the woman now. And this is the coolest thing about tea leaves. You see how these are tea leaves? You see how these are tea leaves? You see how this is tea leaves everywhere, okay? Watch this. I want you to watch this. You're coming over here. Just keep your eye on this side of the screen with me, okay? The coolest thing about tea leaf readings is don't just look at the tea leaves. You see how closer this is? Can you still see that this could be a coyote facing up? Okay, and like I said, someone fishing. Okay, come on over here. Come on over here. Come on over here. Do you see this hair? Very white face. Eye. Open mouth. Eye, as if it has a fake eyelash on it. You know, when people want to put their eyelashes on. That's like a 3D thing. It was in this image. Look at it closer. Do you see how this could be? I know it looks creepy, but do you see the shape of her face? Look at it this way, as if this is the eye, this is the eye, this is a mouth. Look at her hair. It comes down to here, where the shoulder line starts. Do you see where I'm saying that? creepy as that is, that's my perp number 5. I'm going to draw her out. Okay, now I'm going to show you something else. I actually think I have an image of perp number 3. I already knew that perp was there. We saw it in the cup and we were freaking out on, like, in April over that. So that's why we really know there's a female involved in here. But this is what I discovered today, because I wanted to start doing this video, and I started looking through at what am I going to talk about and what do I want to show you guys. Okay, this one creeped me out. I think I have an image, and it's not from the tea leaves, it's from the shadows. Okay, the water is amazing. The water can create stains from the tea leaf, right? Because you're getting real water. It turns color like coffee, right? So sometimes you see those impressions on the cup, but depending on the way the light is hitting the cup when you do the reading, because sometimes, well, this case it was a white cup, you can see shadows that come in. So that's why I want to show you real quick. And I know it's hard on a screen like this, but it's going to be creepy. Look at it. I think you guys can see this. You see this? There's a face in there. Look at this. Now, it's kind of creepy because that's intense. But check it out. Here's the chin. I know it looks creepy. Almost looks like he's in a Batman outfit. Look at it. It almost looks like a Batman mask, but you can see 2 eyes in there. You guys aren't seeing it as well as I am on this, but oddly enough, I can still see it when I'm holding it up to you guys, so I don't know if you can see that, but look at squared jaw, squared, okay? Where the other woman is more rounded. She's not got a face longer than mine. Hers is like probably like cutting off there, but look at that. I see sunken eyes. Oh man, so I think that's a little more than I was bargaining for. So I'm going to end this live now. My next live tonight, I'm going to have a second live tonight. We are May 20th. I will have a second live tonight. I'm going to wait until it gets dark in here though, because I'm going to go back on the reading from April 17th. I'm going to pull it up on my TV screen so it's way bigger. And I'm going to start pointing to some of the other things in the teacup, because there's so much in there. And before I go on to the reading that we just did in May, there's a lot of things from this reading in April 17th that is, we feel, very true. And the May 11 reading is going to back up what we've said. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any details. So there will be one more live tonight pointing to the tea leaf reading from April 17th again. And if you wonder if you've ever had reading abilities, I used to teach people in Toronto, and I would have all the women over either on a full moon or a new moon, and I would sit them down going, you know how to read tea leaves? And they'd say, no, we don't. And at the end of the first evening, everyone was seeing something in the tea leaf. So ladies, we are natural intuitives. And if you give yourself a chance, I'm willing to bet you see more than you know. And it's kind of a cool thing to be able to do. So that is the end of this live. I bid you a great adieu. And I want to thank people both on TikTok and on YouTube, because I have been working with true crime for 15 years, but I've never shared it online. And there is power to doing this because people are really commenting, and anyone who's commented either on my TikTok or my YouTube, I thank you sincerely, because I don't know Arizona. I'm trying to get these details to people who are doing searches down there. I haven't had any success, but I've been trying to at least let people know what these clues are so that people local could follow up very easily. And hopefully Nancy can be found. And I just want to say thank you. I'm going to sign off now. Sometimes I don't know how to quite close this off, but I will say good evening. I will see you later. I'm going to take a dinner break though. So if you look for a live again tonight, Let's see, we're already 7. I suggest it's probably going to be 9 p.m. Eastern or later. But thanks for being, 9 p.m. It'll be around 9 p.m. tonight. I'll try to do the next live. It might be a little sooner. Okay, so thank you much, everybody. And I hope I didn't babble too long. Okay, but okay, over and out.